We welcome George Fowling. George, president of the Granite Club in 2001, in fact the year that the golf course opened with a full 18 holes, a founding member, a competitive golfer, and a chair of many a meeting with respect to golf. George.
Thanks, Skip. I'm honored to have been asked to participate in this major event for Granite Golf. A lot of memories going back to the founding and the elements of getting it done. I learned a lot, had no idea that if you didn't get it started before the birds started to nest, you were out of luck. We had a lot of people kind of pulling hard to make sure that it all happened. And so, you know, some of the things that really come back to me as core pieces for the success that this golf club has become date back to a somewhat fractious meeting that we had with the general membership around financing for the golf clubhouse, which in the end was not to be by Granite Club, but I think was the triggering event to bring together a group of really committed people. And I would say that the one kind of data point that sticks out for me, that was after that meeting, we had a rush and about 30 people put up their hand to become founding directors of the club and to get deeply involved in making it happen. When I say founders of the club, I mean the post-clubhouse club. A rallying cry which I think helped to bring everybody together for the success of the club. I wasn't a golfer of any note, and so I learned how to play golf on a Tom McBroom torture chamber. And after having gone through some psychological testing, I was told I was more frightened of losing a golf ball than I was interested in making a par. So thank you, Tom, for creating an environment for me that made it very challenging, but I have gotten better. Thank you.
George, thank you for your many significant contributions. So here we are with Bob Gorey of Gorey Advertising. During the Granite Club search, we were dealing with many advertising issues, and Bob helped us with many. And one of the other issues was the name of the club, and he and Tom Blackmore were going back and forth. And I have one question, Bob. Did you really suggest the Geezers at Reesers?
Well, Skip, as you know, we were engaged with you in a board meeting, not a board meeting, but a meeting with a lot of other Granite Club folks, and we were struggling to come up with some ideas that would help you market the club. So Blackmore and I got a little carried away with a brainstorming session, and yeah, we actually did come up with that slogan, which we thought was pretty good at the time.
Well, it has not been used yet, but, you know, more to come. This is only the 20th anniversary. Thanks for your contribution.
You're welcome.
We welcome David Holmes. David Holmes was a Granite Club board member during the search and building of the golf course. He will tell you about his due diligence efforts, which were critical to the program. And very importantly, he was a contributor to the STM program that actually made it work. So David, we especially welcome you. Any special recollections? And tell us what you did on your due diligence.
Well, thank you, Skip. Part of the due diligence was investigating the actual site itself to ensure that no matter what, it would be suitable for development, whether it's for golf course or anything else. So I arranged for geotechnical inspections, geophysical inspections, and surveying too. Also early identified where the wetlands were going to be, and that's when we enrolled Linda Kay in facilitating our ability to develop around those wetlands. It also identified the need for additional acreage, even though at the time we felt we had more than enough land for an 18-hole golf course and a practice facility. And that involved getting Paul Lavelle to deal with Ian Gray, who was president of St. Lawrence Starch. And St. Lawrence owned a corn handling facility there, as well as some additional land. Most of it was wetland, but Paul was able to acquire it from Ian, and in doing so allowed us to really complete the 18-hole course, because we were able to put 4 holes on the former St. Lawrence Starch lands. But it was quite an adventure. We all enjoyed ourselves, and as a board, we threw ourselves wholeheartedly behind the project.
Well, you were a major contributor, an unsung hero, and we're so glad to have these recollections. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Skip. Glad to recollect.
So here we are at the Granite Club with Michael Horgan. Michael Horgan is a past president of the Granite Club, 1996, and a very active recruiter for the golf program. He chaired many a town hall meeting. He generated what we called the 3-pronged approach, and that was working with Club Link. Number 2 was meeting with other clubs, and number 3, advancing the agenda of the Granite Golf Group. And it resulted in offers and acceptances for properties by Ron Shishato of Dillon Engineering during your mandate. Thank you, Michael. Any special recollections?
Skip, I'll keep it pretty simple. In 1996, when I became president, the biggest challenge we had was we had no mandate for the membership to go forward. We had a secret committee that had been working for 3 years, expending all kinds of valuable time on a terrific project. And at the end of the day, my favorite memory was the big meeting, shareholders meeting, 900 people here at the club. They wanted tar and feather, Paul Lavelle and myself, and any other director they could get their hands on. And at the end of the day, 61% voted in favor, which in a democracy is a landslide. That's it.
Michael, thank you for your huge contribution. You were one of the ones that made this work. Thank you.
You're welcome. All the best.
We welcome Linda Kay. Linda was president of the Granite Club in the year 2003. She was active in due diligence with the golf club, working with Ron Shishato and David Holmes. She attended council and planning meetings. She was involved with investigating the site, in particular dealing with the wetlands. Her development expertise was welcome and prevailed. And in addition, she visited many of the neighbors to establish working conditions in case there were issues with respect to water or other items. Linda, your recollections.
I have many fond memories of the early days of Granite Golf. It was a very exciting time for me and wonderful to feel a part of something bigger than myself. There are 2 things that come to mind when I think back on my memories of Granite Golf. The first is the sheer energy that surrounded the whole vision and future construction of the golf course. There were hundreds of volunteers, staff, contractors, and professionals who were all responsible for building this magnificent course. The second thing that stands out in my mind is the memory of the first time that I took a tour of the Granite Golf property. This was before the course was built and before we had purchased the properties. I was overcome with the sheer beauty of the landscape with its gentle rolling topography, woodlots, wetland, and surrounded by farmlands and a rural setting. It was exactly what the vision had dictated. A few years later, I had a similar feeling as I played in one of the Granite Golf days with Edie and Bob Marshall. Edie stopped in the middle of the fairway, looked up at the sky, which was blue at the time, and all that we could hear was nature. Edie said, "It just doesn't get any better than this." Definitely, this is a course which is a jewel that we can treasure today and tomorrow. I also remember my golf game with Tom McBroom, the amazing golf course architect who was responsible for designing the course. He's also an amazing golfer. Needless to say, I immediately signed up for golf lessons following the game. It's hard to believe that 20 years have passed for Granite Golf. You were born, you grew up, you built new relationships, you matured, you have a wonderful future ahead of you. It is a very special type of golf club with a unique set of gold standards of excellence and strong family values. I want to congratulate Granite Golf on the celebration of their 20th anniversary. I extend my very best wishes to you for the future. It's a wonderful club, and you are all so fortunate to be part of it. Happy 20th anniversary, Granite Golf.
We are back with Doug Knights, and we're just recalling a story. It was in June 1998, moving forward, and the Granite Golf needed to complete the construction. And a neighbor, Jim Duggan, who had 100 acres, filed an appeal in a handwritten note, and it said that his enjoyment of property would be significantly diminished. And so subsequently, we had to arrange to have an appeal on an accelerated basis, which was done by one of the chairmen of the OMB. And there were technical difficulties in delivering notice. Now, can you speak to that, Doug?
Yes, it was the appeal. The appeal was made to the OMB, and so a meeting of the OMB had been arranged on very short notice for the issue to be heard. And notice of this meeting had to be delivered to the concerned parties, including Mr. Duggan himself, who had made the appeal. Now, getting notice delivered in a timely manner was a huge challenge for us. We had delivered it by fax to a neighbor of his, as I recall, because he himself didn't have a fax machine, which was what was then in use at his own home, but his neighbor did. I had previously communicated with him by that method on earlier conversations about real estate, and he had indicated to me that that was the appropriate way to communicate with him. So we gave him that notice by fax. We also sent someone, a courier, a staff of the club, up there to get it there by 5 o'clock on the Friday afternoon. But we knew it was an impossible task. The details of this notice weren't really ready till about 4:30, and there was rush hour traffic. So not surprisingly, he did not get the notice in the traditional way of hand delivery to his home by the deadline. So sure enough, he continued to try to stymie us by canceling or deferring the OMB hearing because he had not received proper notice. So that was the first matter to be dealt with at the OMB meeting. And I remember my little part in it was to get on the stand and testify and take the oath for the first and only time in my life I have to attest at a court. And I tell the fact of the matter that he had previously instructed us that communication by fax to his neighbor was an appropriate method to deal with him. So that seemed to help a little bit in carrying the day and the decision that was in our favor at the end.
Well, it was another hurdle mounted. Well done, Doug.
One of many little hurdles.
Thank you.